either externally or internally, that leads to the risk of knocking a child's unfolding development off course. So you can kind of kick somebody to the curb if you disrupt them too much developmentally as they're growing. So let's just hold that in mind, and now let's zero in on the kids just before puberty. And this is going to be a time when in our clinics or on the internet, somebody is going to be presented with the option of puberty blockers, right? Just as they're about before entering cancer stage 2 of puberty. Now, what we know developmentally in Western culture is that this is a time of, we call it relative quiet around sexual energy, impulses, and activities. You know it's there, but it's not as vibrant as it is at other times. And in the developmental literature, particularly psychoanalytic developmental literature, this is called the latency period, because things are latent. And then we have Erikson. That's Erikson stage 4, which is industry versus inferiority. That this is a child, they're a worker bee, they're a rule maker, and this is considered the lull before the storm of puberty, right? So everything kind of quiet, even, no big waves. And then we have Piaget. This is in terms of cognitive development. We have, this is the age of concrete thinking. I want the facts, just the facts. What are the rules? What are the facts? That's often how kids are operating cognitively during this period. And now comes the disruption. So, fertility considerations about blockers. When a family and a child is considered blockers, and might be thinking about hormones later, brings on the storm before the lull is over. So we've interrupted the lull. So we're asking a child to think about sex, babies, and the future role of being a parent, rather than the rules of the game and gameplay. And this can lead to developmental stress or emotional stress for the child. And I want to put a parenthesis here. Unfortunately, there are some children who have not been exempt from being abused sexually. And for those kids who are also, we always have to consider history and trauma, who are also being presented with these options, this can also be extremely disruptive about past trauma. So we have to remember that as well. And so we've got developmental stress and emotional stress. So, and we're asking a child to assent. Parents sign off in our culture, but we have to have the child on board and understanding what's going on, and agree to whatever is going to go forward about gender-affirming medical care. So we're asking this child prematurely to take on sex and drugs, no rock and roll. So they have to do this much. And they will learn, and they should learn, because there should be very careful, sensitive fertility counseling to all families. That puberty blockers is taken early at tenor stage 2 and followed by gender-affirming hormones means at this point in history, no gametes to be had. It's changing, we're on a cusp. But we can't guarantee that, so we have to take that into account, and that will mean no genetically related baby to some baby name. This is the education and dialogue that we're having with families and kids who may be quite young. And then we ask them to decide, so are you game? And that is a very heavy burden, particularly for one group of children. These are the kids who, say, socially transitioned by age 5, for example. They knew early on that their asserted, affirmed gender identity did not match the sex designated at birth, and they have socially transitioned to their authentic gender. They've been living in that gender for years, and now they're coming up on puberty, which could be a trauma if the puberty maxing whether they're XX or XY do unfold. So they've been clear and consistent and living in their authentic gender for a long time, and they now have to make a decision. They don't need more time for gender exploration. They're clear. And they don't need blockers to buy more time. Instead, with those kids, typically blockers are to ward off an unwanted puberty and potential trauma. So, for them, blockers provide continuity of care of their gender affirmation, but discontinuity and the potential capacity to have a genetically related child and to ever create genetically related progeny. So you've got continuity and discontinuity at the same time, and we'll just hold that for the kids who are entering puberty, considering puberty blockers, possibly followed by hormones. And that education has to happen before they sign up for puberty blockers. You can see the whole scope of this. So then let's go into full-blown adolescence. So, and this is going to be when youth are presented with gender-affirming hormone options. So we have the physiological changes in puberty, often lead to discomfort with one's body. Raise your hand if you felt really good about your body going through puberty. Look around, do you see a hand? Okay, I rest my case. So we also have during this period a lot of asymmetry between your physical and your emotional growth. You can be 11 years old and have the body of a 20-year-old, but the psyche of a 7-year-old. And so it's a very uneven time in development. And this is going to be a time of emerging sexual feelings and figuring out what you can do about it. And this is Erickson's 5th stage of development, where you have identity versus role confusion. You're figuring out your identity in all parts of yourself, and that includes gender and sexuality. And then we've got Piaget, no more concrete operations. We've now moved into what's called formal operations, so we've got abstract, conceptual thinking. The child becomes the philosopher, who will argue with you till 3 in the morning why they should get to drive at age 14, because it's philosophically a good and moral thing to do, right? So, if any of you have raised teenagers. So, now we factor in some emotional features of adolescence in our culture. In our culture, teens are known to exhibit emotional lability. What I learned in my training is that adolescence in mental health terms is a borderline personality condition with a cure. That is, you grow out of it. So emotions are sometimes expressed in passionate, extreme forms. You don't feel things mildly. And there's also this notion of invincibility. I can do anything. Which leads to some risk-taking behaviors. And then there's the other side of that. When you discover you're not so invincible, you deflate. And you can just taint when you realize it's not so. You can often see in teenagers, as we do in all of us, but we see it a lot in teenagers, a regression to earlier modes of functioning in the face of stress and anxiety. So the notion is you can move from age 2 to age 20 within 5 minutes in those years. So we've got developmental disruption number 2. We're asking an emotionally volatile, gamete-producing teen to think about baby making when the immediate goal is to avoid making. And this is what we're needing to do in our gender clinics. We're asking the philosopher teen to think concretely about baby making when they have body dysphoria related to their gender, not just being a teenager, but a whole lot of body dysphoria can be up for gender-expansive, gender-exploring, and transgender teenagers. And when they want to think about anything but their bodies, they don't want to think about their body, they don't want to think, except to make a promise that you'll help them change it. And they don't want to think about sex often, really the first it's anything having to do with sexuality when they're feeling gender dysphoric. And they don't want to think about reproduction. So that disruption again. And then we come in queer. So have you thought about preserving your sperm or harvesting your eggs? And look at everything above that and think that might just be a difficult thing. So here's my thought. These things are difficult, but it is important for us all to be trained about how to have these dialogues with both kids and their parents, because I really believe that the benefits far outweigh the risks of considering both blockers and hormones for youth, despite the impingement on fertility. So let's look at it. Blockers and hormones, we now know, we have research to show they're trauma prevention interventions, they're life-affirming interventions, they can be actually life-saving interventions. For transgender youth who might otherwise be left with this very distorted, cacophonous life, which potentially can contribute to 41% rate of suicidality that keeps coming up in the research about transgender individuals. So the challenge is presenting all of this at an appropriate developmental level given the disruptions, in a way that can be metabolized, thought about, and used usefully. So here's our biggest error. The biggest error is TMI with the younger youth. We give them way too much information and they feel flooded. And the way to avoid that is when you introduce the issue of these interventions to affect whether you can make babies with your own eggs or sperm, you emphasize reproduction, don't talk about sex at all with the younger kids. And even with the older kids, it's all about reproduction, not about sexuality. And even with that, be prepared for the squirminess about sex. And we've had several kids just fall under the chair when this discussion comes up. We just not talk about this. Be alert for what is sometimes a knee-jerk, overblown altruism. Before you get out the first sentence about let's talk about what this means in the future of family building, they will tell you, oh, it's okay, I already know. I only want to adopt. There's just too many people in the world. And I know all these babies need homes, so I'm doing adoption. Now that may be a really good plan and hope for the future, but it needs to be thought out. And usually that means, are you not going to give me my blockers? Because I can't tolerate it. We're going to have any discussion that means I have to wait or wait for my hormones. So know that this will be a response that just needs to be unpacked, taken seriously, but opened up. And the thing I would say is, as you communicate this fertility information, hold in mind, and I should say my other hat is assisted reproductive technology, so that's a field I work in. There are very few people who commit suicide because they're infertile. It's not unheard of, but it's rare. You can get really depressed, but it doesn't have a high rate of suicidality, right? So being infertile. However, there's a lot of people who become suicidal about severe gender dysphoria, gender discrimination, etc., gender stress. So you have to balance that on the scales in terms of going back to life-saving intervention. So here's what we need to do. We never lose sight of developmental disruption. You be on the ready with salves for the disruption. And that know that this is an interdisciplinary project, but a lot of the tasks will fall to the mental health professional, who has to know all the medical information that can deal with the emotional issues and having this discussion. So hopefully everybody will have a medical health professional on board. And so what about the future? This is like the present. What happens when these youth making fertility decisions at stage 4, or Erickson stage 4 or 5, arise at stage 7? What happens when they get to that stage, which is called generativity versus stagnation, when supposedly the desire to build a family becomes a front-burner issue? How are they going to feel then about the decisions they made back here? Could they possibly know when they're 11 how they're going to feel with it? So we have those questions. And will assisted reproductive technology be okay? Will adoption be okay? How about fostering? How about being child-free? And how can a child, 2 or 3 stages behind Erickson stage 7, know what they're going to feel 2 to 3 stages later? So it's up to us to start finding that out. Now, when we first did this presentation, that was the end of the slide, okay? And I said goodbye. Now I'm going to stay with you a few more minutes because we are now researching it, and we do have some data. So here we go. This is research by Diane and Associates that they did. Diane is at Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago, but this was a national sample, and this was looking at transgender and gender expansive youth attitudes about fertility. So there's 155 youth, mean age 16, major concerns regarding biological parenthood in their study. The consideration of fertility, preservation, pregnancy, birth led to heightened dysphoria, gender dysphoria. So bringing up this consideration made their dysphoria go up. And, quote from one of their subjects, "I will never have a child come out of my own body. It would give me horrible dysphoria and I don't want to do it." That's from a 16-year-old transgender now. Second thing, they're worried about the social stigma towards transgender parents. It's a form of minority stress. So I'll just put a parenthesis, a story there. I have two young friends. They are two transgender men. They started out as a lesbian couple, but they are now two transgender men in a couple, and they wanted to have a baby. And one of them had decided they would be the one to carry the baby. And so they wanted to talk to me because they live in New York City, and the one who was going to carry the baby has the intersectionality of being a transgender man and African American, and travels on the subway to get to his job as a nurse practitioner. And he said, "I don't want to be the person on the subway that everybody stares at as the transgender pregnant man. What am I doing?" So I had this light bulb go on, and I thought, when I was growing up, there was a stigma to get pregnant if you weren't married. So we had these homes for unwed mothers who were, suddenly a kid would be missing from high school for 9 months, and then we'd come back later after being in a home for unwed mothers. So why don't we have retreats for pregnant fathers until we can get rid of the transphobia? And that people can have it like Green Gulch, in some place, and just relax and have a good time and good food for a while. So that is one solution, but the ultimate solution is to reduce the stigma, of course. And this is my partner and I have discussed, and we're unsure about having children in the future. We both have concerns about the implication of pregnancy that go with our gender identities. And they specifically meant that people will stigmatize them, discriminate against them, harass them, just for wanting to be parents. And that's from a 15-year-old. So some more from the research. In spite of all that, 26% of transgender youth reported wanting to consider biological parenthood, in comparison to 43% of gender expansive respondents. So this is a fair number of this group of both groups of kids. They're thinking about biological parenthood. And overall, more participants expressed interest in adoption than biological parenthood. And most of their information came from the internet, not from having a dialogue with anybody.
Did they compare that with cisgender youth? I'm just curious what percentage of youth in general.
Yeah, they did, and it was much higher. Cisgender, I think, was 80-something. So, yeah, so the numbers are lower, but not as low as what everybody predicted that they would be. But there were a lot of misconceptions, no pun intended, in evidence in the subject. So here'd be a quote, and there were several. "I'm really interested in bone marrow to have a baby, but I'm scared it's painful and expensive and has risks." 17-year-old gender expansive, designated, female designated at birth. So this was, and so obviously we need to do some education. And they all said in this study, they overwhelmingly wanted more informed fertility discussions with healthcare providers, but also both general health professionals, their primary doctor, and also with gender specialists in clinics, and they did not feel they were getting it. So they wanted more than they had. So more research finding. This was a study done by Strang and colleagues, John Strang, that over 50% of the transgender adolescents they sampled wanted to have children, and about a third were uncertain about future parenthood. And this is the same study that Jen referred to before, that only 2 out of the 72 youth.
In fact, on council, they wanted fertility preservation.
Wanted fertility preservation before beginning treatment blockers for gender-affirming hormone. But I think only 2 attempted. That's the, see, only 2 attempted is what it was.
Got it, okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
that
that's
is
why
right.
it's a
Only
different
two
number.
moved forward.
Only 2 attempted, only 2 who have been counseled attempted.
Right.
That's why we had different numbers.
No, but I had the 2 as well.
Okay, so this is, again, another study by Diane. This was a different study only at Lurie Children's Hospital, their patients. Of their 105 transgender youth, 13 sought out fertility preservation consultation. Of those, 4 banked sperm and 3 harvested eggs. The barriers identified: the cost, invasiveness of the procedure, and not just invasiveness, but the rise in gender dysphoria that comes with the procedure, and the desire not to delay their medical transition, which is particularly true for egg preservation, because you've got to stimulate eggs and wait for a cycle that produces viable eggs, and it can take some time. So I wanted to just point out as my last thing is we now have a new useful laboratory tool, which I think is great. I have a hard copy here, but I have the link to it. So this was John Strang and Associates developed the Transgender Youth Fertility Attitudes Questionnaire. And it was developed in Washington, D.C. at National Children's Hospital. 16 items, 1 for youth, 1 for parents, same questions. And here's their quote about it. It may be useful in the clinical context, given the role it played in facilitating clinical conversations about gender-affirming hormones, fertility, and fertility preservation. And here is the link. You can download the whole questionnaire right here. And so maybe you can just read one, so you can just
Read one of the questions?
Just read one of the questions, and then you can go from strongly agreed to.
So this is the 16th question. Is there anything that would get in the way of preserving your eggs or sperm? And then check as many as possible. I don't have enough information to know how to preserve eggs or sperm. The cost of preserving eggs or sperm, scheduling an appointment could slow down starting puberty blockers, hormones or other treatments. The procedure of preserving eggs or sperm would make me feel uncomfortable or embarrassed, and then other, and then space to describe.
So they're all like, they're 16. And I just think, even if you don't use the actual tool, it gives you guidelines on what you should be talking to families about. And I want to give you a warning about all of this. Some people don't like what we're doing around youth and fertility. So, you may not recognize this person. This is Michelle Futella, who is the president of the American College of Pediatricians, which sounds like a legitimate organization. It is a group of conservative pediatricians, most of them, because many of them are evangelical. So, I'm a pediatrician. How transgender ideology has infiltrated my field and produced large-scale child abuse. Today's institutions that promote transition and affirmation are pushing children to impersonate the opposite sex, sending many of them down the path of puberty blockers, sterilization, just everything we're talking about today, the removal of healthy body parts, and untold psychological damage. These harms constitute nothing less than institutionalized child abuse. So I just end with that just to know that there are forces that push against this idea of gender affirmation that comes with the cost of fertility.